Second stretch.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
All right, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes, our co-host. Back east, handling all the producing duties. It's old Peg Leg Danny. What's up, guys?
What up? How is old Peg Leg? Is your leg getting better or what?
Yeah, tell us, Peg Leg.
It's getting better, slowly but surely. It's clearing up like a bruise. Like, you know how like day to day it's kind of tough to see, but you can tell that your bruise is like going away, and then like 3 days later it's like a lot fainter. It's kind of working like that.
Kind of like a bruise.
Yeah, just like a bruise.
Just like a bruise.
All right.
That situation can get very bad very quickly. Mm-hmm. We've seen with a lot of fighters. Just the other day when we had King Mo on, he almost lost his leg to that.
He did. Yeah, Danny, it's nothing to play around on. I keep telling you, stop waiting for Saturday. Take showers every day.
With soap. We've talked about this.
Yes. Laundry day, once a week at least, not once a month. It's not the first Friday. Or small. Okay. All right. Corey Smith. In a few minutes before the show. They're always tripping. What time is it? We'll be here soon. 3 minutes. Goes and I will be live streaming throughout the event. And for the last 3 fights, we will actually turn on our Facebook. And we will interact with you as we react to the fights. So hopefully we can all simultaneously be watching the fight at the same time. I think what they do with Joe Rogan on his fight companion, he kind of says, ready and go. And everybody tries to give it a refresh at the same time. Mm-hmm. But even then, whatever he says might be 3 seconds behind for someone else. So, you work it out, my man. It works out. You figure it out. And I'm just expecting some fun fights tonight. We have 2 undefeated fighters in the featured bout. All right. And we have a ladies bout in the co-main event. And then we have some really, really tough bantamweights in the main event. So it's going to be a great time, and I hope you can join us. It starts at 8 Eastern, 7 Pacific. I incorrectly 2 days ago said 10 Eastern. That's what time it's for anyone that's going to the event. In Mexico City, it's starting at 10 p.m. Mexico City time, but they're a couple hours ahead of us. So I apologize for that. It's 8 Eastern, and it's 5 Pacific. So
it kind of reminds me of the WEC because they focus a little bit more on the lighter classes, but every card has that one fight that just kind of sticks out. It's always a fun card. Mm-hmm. I like Combate.
And let me tell you something. Steve Swanson is not just riding the Swanson coattails. Hey, I'm Cubs' brother. Okay. He's 14-2, and he's got like 13 or 12 finishes. He's no joke. He will be fighting Gustavo Lopez. That's your main event.
He's no joke either, though. We've seen him before at Extreme Couture.
He's won 5 of his last 6. Nigdali Rivera Kalinok will be fighting Elizabeth Lopez Silva, atom weights. That's 105 pounds. With Kevin Aioli here yesterday, we talked about feather and flyweight in the future being big for women. Well, we've seen some pretty decent atom weights also out there. That's 105 pounds, namely Michelle Watterson and Jessica Penne, who right now currently compete at 115 pounds in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So they are featured in the co-main event, and the featured bout is Mark De La Rosa versus Ivan Hernandez Flores, both undefeated fighters. Flores does have a one draw to his record, but he's 7-0-1 to De La Rosa 7-0. So it should be a fun night of fights. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Gilbert Melendez will join us. We have a lot of free time to take some calls. 866-522-2846. Yesterday, Kevin Aioli said we usually get more calls, and he's right. Usually when he's here, the phone lines are lit up. We had like 5 or 6 callers yesterday, but we wouldn't mind hearing from any of you that want to participate. 866-522-2846. It's pretty easy to get on. Danny will just screen you, give us a few couple tidbits of your name and where you're from, and you can get on fairly quickly most of the time.
When are we going to do our Junkie Gathering Letter of Intent Day? Are we going to stick to what they do in college sports?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that day is...
It's like February 1st or 2nd or something like that, I think.
College Letter of Intent. I think it's the first Wednesday of February every year. But just to be sure. Yeah. Just to be sure, I'm Googling it right now. The National Letter of Intent Day is for football, February 1st.
February 1st.
Yeah.
So that is the day.
On what day?
Huh?
That lands on a Wednesday? It does. Yeah, it's on Wednesday, February 1st.
That is the day that you call into the show and you tell us that you intend to fly out to Las Vegas.
Or drive out.
For our 2017 Junkie Gathering. And you're going to hang out with us for almost a week. We're going to give you stuff to do. You're going to meet a lot of the callers that you're used to hearing on the show. The House from Chicago, the Aaron from Minneapolis, Aaron from Texas.
Oh, Aaron's
Showtime. Well, I'm just giving names, right?
Oh, okay.
All those callers, they're going to be, the majority of them are here. And so you get to meet them, you get to hang out with them. We all do exercises together. We bring fighters out to hang out with you. And I'm almost done, George, planning it.
Really?
Yeah, I have a base, and now all I'm trying to do is one up everything. Mm-hmm. So if I'm trying to do this at this location, the only thing I would maybe switch is the location because I found a cooler one, that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's pretty much planned out.
For new listeners, break down the Junkie Gathering.
It starts Tuesday, but a lot of people show up like Sunday, Monday, and, we have chill nights where we're just hanging out in front of the studio. Because in front of our studio, we're in the sports book. There's tables, there's a bar, there's big screens, there's gambling, there's all kinds of stuff.
Must be 21.
But on Tuesday, we do something light, usually one activity. And then it starts picking up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are your heavy days. And Saturday is the day where usually there's a fight card in Vegas. But if there's not, we all watch it together. We don't go to the fight. We watch it together, hang out together. And there's, usually there's a gym visit involved. Where in the past we've gone to Robert Drysdale's gym, Syndicate, Vanderlei's gym, Extreme Couture. We've been to a lot of them. There's times where we've done trivia night. We've seen concerts. We've seen comedy acts.
Yeah, so basically it's you all coming out to visit and hang out for anywhere from 3 days to a week. And we plan a bunch of activities, and it involves a lot of MMA fighters, notables. It's our show as well. And it's just basically kind of it's a gathering of like hardcore MMA fans. It's a vacation for you all because we're not attached, we don't handcuff each other. So there may be a time where you want to go off and play some blackjack or you may want to go off and catch a show. It may be your first time to Vegas. Plenty of stuff to do when we're not hanging out. But Goes usually stacks the deck, and there's a lot of things to do. And he named off some of the activities that we've done in the past. We've played dodgeball against fighters over at Syndicate Gym.
Yeah.
Right. We've gone over to see amateur fighting tryouts at the Extreme Couture Gym.
That's where Martin Kampman almost killed JD.
He did. I remember that. We've seen private training like Frank Mir. He was getting ready for, I think, his Duffy fight, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been the one before that, but it was 2015. He allowed us to come in during his training camp. Travis Brown was there as well. We've gone to we always go to a show or a concert. Goes has a big trivia night. So really it's a lot of fun. A few of you have gotten your hands wrapped in the past by Stitch, Duran, or Don House. So really it's just
we had a meet and greet with Dana White for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Just us, just the Junkies and Dana White.
Yeah, so it really, really is a good time. And again, you're in Vegas, for crying out loud. Whatever the event is on Saturday night, it culminates with us having a viewing party at one of these fine establishments. And later on that night, it's kind of like, I guess, our closing ceremonies, a farewell at a bar or a club. We all hang out one last time, and usually by Sunday, because it is a Memorial Day weekend, some people start heading back. Some people head back Monday. Some people stayed as late as Tuesday. And we're back to business doing our show during the week. But it really, really is a good time, and a lot of people have come out and made some lifelong friends, including us.
Yeah, and we get a lot of people that say, oh, I don't know anyone, I'm shy. But there's a lot of people that have said that. They show up, and within 10 or 15 minutes, it's just like normal. I mean, you're starting off, you're meeting a group where you already have something in common. Two things, the show and MMA. So it's easy to make friends.
Easy. Many people have come out not knowing anyone, and those are the ones I gravitate to, because you have to have some incredible balls to just go out and hang out with listeners of a show and the hosts of a show and fighters that you've seen on TV, but none of those you've never met. And so I tend to I want to have a beer with you, man, and just say, hey, what made you pull the trigger? Mm-hmm. And usually it's, man, I just love the show, or I love MMA. You know, I wanted to come out. I wanted to do something. I saved up my money, and I wanted to do something this summer. And it usually turns out to be people's best of the year, not just their summer.
I've even seen, the majority of it is males, but there are females. If you think about Cupcake Katie, those are girls that just came out by themselves. And they were able to make friends and just have a good time, and they come back. So I don't want to hear anything about you being intimidated. It's really a chill environment. It's a lot of fun. And hey, at the worst, you get to meet a lot of fighters.
Yeah, exactly. And at the worst, if we're just the worst group to hang out with ever, you're in Vegas. You can have a good time. I've been to Vegas alone in the past, and that's fun too.
You've done
tons of memories. I have, yeah.
Just by yourself, California to Vegas?
California to Vegas, yeah. Well, now, to be fair, it was like my friends were coming in a day or two, but I wanted to beat them to the punch and just kind of like sometimes especially like on March Madness, they want to watch straight games. And so do I, but I'd come in maybe Tuesday or Wednesday and get some rounds of blackjack in and things like that.
I don't like doing anything by myself. And the one thing, I finally ate a meal by myself, and I did not like it one bit.
Really?
But the one thing that I have never done, and I kind of want to try it, but I would be absolutely miserable, is go to a movie by myself. I've never done that.
Have I done that one? I can't remember if I've done that one. You're right. That one I don't think I would. I like cracking jokes and bugging people that I'm with. So I probably not. But I've traveled by myself. I went to Argentina, Buenos Aires, Argentina by myself. And what it did was it forced me to explore. Yeah, I guess I could have sat in the room and said, I'll play it lazy and just watch local TV, but no, it actually forced me to like plan my activity, go to the concierge. You know, usually I like to plan stuff with friends and family, but through my own research on the net, I'm not much of a concierge and bellhop type person, but this one was a little different. And so that guy, I told him I want to see Boca Juniors soccer. I knew they were playing a game, so that was research I did before the trip. So I knew that I was playing the game. I go, I wanna see a game. And he goes, all right. And so he set me up with a bus to pick me up. At this time, I need you down here. And then it's going to take you. And then they kind of have like a little restaurant row and stuff like that where you can eat and pick up souvenirs. And then you all march kind of to the game.
Really?
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And I go, all right, cool. So when I sat on the bus, I sat with another person that went by themselves. So we kind of bullshitted. And that was, I guess, a little bit of a hangout buddy. as we went. It was a European guy, and we just kind of hung out or whatever. But then when it was time to go in, our tickets weren't. They were in the same section, but they weren't together. And so when I sat down, am I there? Okay. When I sat down, I actually sat down to a guy whose father had been ill, but they were lifelong Boca Juniors season ticket holders. So it was kind of like 2005 version of StubHub or whatever, like sell the ticket, right?
Uh-huh.
So he was an Argentinian guy, and he goes, yeah, it's usually me and my pops, man, for years, but he's been sick, and he's doing well, but he just can't come out to the games just yet. So I offer this ticket, you know, and so, yeah, we hit it off, bought each other around.
You still keep in contact?
No, I didn't do that.
No?
I mean, he was cool, but I probably knew I wasn't going to ever see him again, I guess. So, yeah, and so we watched, oh, man, the most incredible atmosphere. I may have to stop myself right now because you guys might give me Frank Mir face. It may have been the most incredible atmosphere I've ever been to in a sporting event. Like, seriously. And it was one of their last games, but they were clinching the equivalent of, like, the Premier League. That's why it was a huge game.
Bigger than World Cup?
Yeah, because World Cup's kind of, like, more corporate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so maybe if we had gone to a semifinal or final with our country, faces painted and everything, maybe I'd change my mind. But okay, I'll give you an example.
Conor McGregor fight?
Do you? Oh fuck yeah! Do you remember? Do you remember Mexico versus USA at the Coliseum?
Yeah,
that was intense, right?
Yeah.
And that was probably more intense than some World Cup games in a way, right? Because it was a rivalry, and we were supporting a side.
We were 100 against, 110,000, I think, fit in there that night?
Right.
Because of the counterfeit tickets?
Yeah. And so this one, well, I mean, dude, South America is nuts. I'll especially Argentina, I will tweet a video of just before the game, the M80s that are going off, and the fireworks and the flares, and they have banners and signs, and you know, so they really, I mean, it is like a festival, a holiday every Sunday or whenever the game is. And then, so then everyone launches the toilet paper and then all of the confetti that comes down on the field. It's crazy. I mean, there's these big fences. It looks like you're at a prison yard, and they don't want to let the players out. But it's to protect them, you know. And then on the other side, you see a guy standing by the flag. He shouldn't be there. If that was the United States, they'd go, sir, you cannot be there. You know, you could fall over the stadium, and he's just hanging on there, and he's waving. Because the other team was Independiente, so they had their legion of fans, and they had, where they were at. So
do they divide them with the security?
Oh, hell yeah. They divide them. It was nuts, man.
Better than Cowboys 49ers playoffs? NFC
Yes, I'm talking about just the atmosphere, yeah. Because this one was NFC. I lost my voice. It was a great game. I won money. It was amazing. But this is really, really hostile. And so it kind of adds a little bit to just the fanaticism of a game or a sport to these people.
Did you have fear?
No, it was because it was organized through the concierge. So going in on a bus and we kind of had a little bit of a director, and this is where we're going to meet and blah, blah, blah. But no, I didn't have a fear because I kind of sat with a season ticket holder. So I was away from where like all the true hardcore hooligans and all them were. Maybe if I was there, I'd be like, you know, buying a round of drinks. Hey, I'm one of your guys, but you know.
I'm gonna see if I can't make a list of all the sports, and then I'll give you the environments. Because I can think of a few UFCs.
Now Brazil felt more dangerous to me.
Let's see.
The atmosphere, but this one was, and they're crazy too, and they have their banners and chants and stuff like that. But outside the stadium, it's just you can't drift off too far, or you just may be in the wrong territory. But here it was like just fucking shook.
That's cool.
It shook.
Oh, that's scary.
And like I said, these sounds like to me M80s just boom, you know. And this is one where you probably, if you had to take a piss, you may just want to hold it to the end of the game. And
I do that at Dodger Stadium because they have that stupid trough.
Yeah, you just may want to hold it till the end of the game, because this is one where I could see you getting jumped. You know, if you're wearing the wrong thing. Yeah.
Well, we should have people call in and tell us what their doesn't have to be MMA, but just the craziest sporting environment you've been in. Ray from San Antonio should be that first caller.
The Spurs?
No, man, he was just at the Cowboy Green Bay game. He's a
He
Green
was
Bay
there?
fan. He was there.
He was?
Yep.
That's
I
why he
talked
was
to him
talking
about it
shit.
yesterday. Yeah, he's
Man,
been a
I
big Green Bay
tip
fan.
my hat to anyone that road games it like that. Who did he go with?
2 chicks.
Even better. I actually tip my hat.
He's tipping his hat right now to Ray from San Antonio.
Good job, Ray from San Antonio. Holy cow, what a game. Hey, if you follow athletes or celebs on social media, Terrence Crawford, the boxer, check out his video. He's a Packers fan, and he's at the game, and he does a good job.
There's a lot. They
of
travel
messing.
a lot.
Kind of messing with some people. You could tell the Dallas fans figured out who he was, or, they weren't saying anything back to him. They were just like smiling, waving. But in reality, had it been like you or I, I'd probably be like, get your ass down here, let's fight or whatever. But he was laughing, and in fact, maybe you can find it before the show.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah. Let's talk to some listeners of the show. Josh from Ontario. I almost said Orlando. Jesus, I got to get closer. Rick from Alaska. They're on hold. You want to join in? It's 866-522-2846. Start off with Josh in Ontario. What's up, Josh?
Hey, guys. Just watching the show. I'm loving the Junkie gathering talk. I'm pretty excited myself. But way back, George, you challenged Tavares and the guys at Extreme Couture for a football game. I didn't hear any mention of that the other day when Brad was in studio.
He was talking shit when the show was over.
So I'll let Ghost talk about that.
When the show was over, he was talking smack and saying, are we still going to be able to be friends after we mop the floor with you, stuff like that. So there's a couple guys there. Like I don't know if we mentioned on the show, but Brad plays flag football with a team here in Vegas, and they just won a championship. And then their general manager, Eric Nixick, who's co-hosted our show before, he was a high school player, maybe even a college player, but a really good, I think, receiver. So they've got a few guys here and there, but they don't know that we got secret weapons.
Right. We'll be joined by fighters and other media. Brad Okamoto says he's in, right?
Mm-hmm. Who's the quarterback, though? That's the thing. You're a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, but you want these hands, man. I'm telling you. You throw it up there, and I'll come down and get it. Unless fucking Darrell Rivas is on me. If it's in the neighborhood, I'll get it. So that's why we need someone that can throw it. What I need is this belly to otherwise freaking I won't even say it, but
okay,
non-athletes would be able to guard me. Yeah, so I just need to get on that. Butterbean would be able to guard me.
If you line up on the outside and Roy Nelson is lined up in front of you, like you don't want that, right? You want like Uriah Hall maybe.
Uriah Hall to guard me or for me to guard him?
I'm saying, would you feel bad if they go, hey, Roy, you got that guy?
No, bring Roy.
Yeah, but
Roy can't guard me.
You feel like you're the fat guy?
Oh, yeah, because the fat guy
they're matching it up, right?
Yeah,
like
no.
If I'm out there, they're not telling me.
Inside within me, I'd be like, oh, man, they got me. But deep down, I'd kind of give a look to whoever's quarterbacking and go on, throw it. Watch this.
I want Misha to guard me.
Who doesn't? All right. What else, Josh? So you're coming out? This can be a soft. This can be a verbal.
Yeah. I'll do a soft commitment there, but I am coming out. Absolutely. And you mentioned a live sporting event. I haven't really taken in too many crazy ones, but for me, UFC 129 was pretty memorable. It's my first live show, and then the event started off with 4 or 5 straight finishes, including the flying armbar, I believe, or flying triangle, the spinning back fist from John McDessie to Kyle Watson, and then to top it off for me, being the Big Team Tompkins guy, Homnick in that 5th round of the Aldo fight, man, I thought the roof was going to come off the place. So, yeah, that's got to be my...
That's a classic right there. That's a great event.
That's a good one.
I would have wanted to be there, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's really all I got.
Okay.
Actually, if I got another second, guys, what do you think about this pay interview with Connor and Ariel? It's kind of bullshit, don't you think? My opinion is, these guys are they're coming from the most accessible interviews and athletes that there are. Now all of a sudden we have to pay for interviews? That's bullshit in my opinion, but that's just me. Take care, guys. Have a great show. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I kind of draw the line there. I just don't do it. If it ever gets to that with other people, would you do it?
All right, so what Connor's doing is they're going to do a 1-hour sit-down with him, and you can watch it via pay-per-view, right? I think that's what I read. I'm not that interested in that.
It's just.
But I think what it
principle of
is
the whole thing.
yeah.
I'm just not gonna. I would never do it.
So I don't know what. So what I'm thinking is, did someone get creative and say, "Hey, look, this is a sit down in front of an audience, maybe an auditorium or whatever," and then people said, "Well, we want to hear it too." Okay, well, if we're going to do this, then we're just trying to recover streaming, or is it actually like a business modeled after paying interviews?
If that happens, then it's the domino effect. Then everybody's gonna want to do it.
Can't someone Facebook Live it?
Probably not.
I guess they'll have phones taken away or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just seems like too big of a deal over whatever he's got to say. What's he gonna reveal? You know, I mean, I don't know. I'll just find out the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that interested in it. Yeah. Another thing, don't be scared to call in and tell us what your best event is. It's not like I'm gonna try and smash it. I'm not saying I went to the greatest one ever. I'm just saying that environment is really, really hard to top because third world country. I don't remember getting frisked. I think I remember them just looking at us and waving us through, but I don't think I went through anything, metal detectors or anything like that. And United States, we got the security thing tightened up. I just felt like it was hard. It was just, I don't know, hardcore environment where they allow all these things. I'll send you a link, guys, and then you can show the audience what I'm talking about. But let's just continue. Rick from Alaska, you're up next. What's up, Rick?
Hey, guys. Well, I have to talk about the Alaska Fighting Championship that was on Fight Pass yesterday. I think me and 10 other people were the only ones who watched it. But I would recommend it to anyone out there who has some spare time. Just completely skip over the main event, though. It's probably one of the worst fights.
So watch the card, but skip the main event?
Skip the main event. It's just like a regional. It's Alaskan Fight AFC. They UFC Fight Pass just uploaded like 60 of their pay-per-views, and their first live one they held, I think, was yesterday. I watched it this morning, and pretty much all the fights, are pretty quick. It's very regional, it's not amateur, but they're kind of like amateur fights. The main event, don't worry about it. But the best thing about it is this guy called Beverly Hills Ninja. I've never heard of him, but his persona could work. Like, I'm not going to say anything further, but if you watch the fight, you watch him come out, you just watch how he moves around when he's waiting to have his name announced. It's something that could bring eyeballs to his fights.
There was a movie called Beverly Hills Ninja, right? Is that where that comes from?
Yes. I think it's more about, I think I'm getting the next name right, I think it's more about his mannerisms.
Okay.
And it's pretty funny. Yeah, I've never seen that kind of mannerisms before.
I don't know if I can dedicate my hours to watching the whole card unless I fast forward through it, but I do at least want to see this guy. It's a man or woman? Man, right?
It's a man, and I don't want to hype it up too much, but just see, I don't think he's had many fights, but the third fight, the fight's really quick, and I'm not going to go any further, but it's nothing too ridiculous. But I see potential in him or a person to mimic something like that kind of swagger, and I think it could get eyeballs to this screen. And I'll leave it at that. But I just want to talk about my favorite event I've ever been to live was also in Alaska. It was Dan Severn. He came and fought this just really small MMA show, a lot of locals there, and then he was in the main event against a guy that was from Russia, apparently, and it turned out it was the best thing I'd ever seen, best MMA event, best anything. And then I found out 8 months later that he was doing the same fight with the same guy at different places, and it was a fixed fight, but it was advertised as MMA. And I'll never forget how cool it was, but obviously it was cool because it was basically a work. And then I guess the leading up to that would be getting to sit next to Don Fry for 6 hours in the Ultimate Fighter finale a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty funny.
All right. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, see you, Rick.
Don was hilarious that night.
When he said, it reminded me of Hulk Hogan when he fought Jesse the Body Ventura.
Oh.
Mean Gene Okerlund goes, LA fans, he's coming back to the Olympic Auditorium. Hulk Hogan will defend his WWF World title against Jesse the Body Ventura. Hulk Hogan walks in and goes, you know, Mean Gene, I'm from the mean streets of Venice Beach. I'm coming home, brother. I'm going to take this man's head off. Blah, 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 blah. Little kids, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, kiss your parents, whatever else he used to say. And that week, our parents had gotten cable, Comcast or something cable. So we had WOR in New York, WGN in Chicago, WTBS in Atlanta. And, you know, before you couldn't get that. You just got your local TV. So then, that was Saturday morning. And sports, Wide World of Sports, and then at night, the Love Boat, and then whatever else. Super Train, BJ and the Bear. Anyway, so that night, I'm scouring through the channels, and I come across WOR. And there's just pro wrestling on, right? So I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. So I'm watching. They go to a commercial. And they go, WWF coming to an arena near you. We're headed to, I think it was the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And Mean Gene Okerlund goes, here we are in Long Island. We're coming back. And it was literally like 3 or 4 days after yeah, there you go, Love Boat. It was like 3 or 4 days after the other event in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, you know, it's Tito Santana against Greg the Hammer Valentine and the Wild Samoans against, I'm going, that's a fucking identical card to L.A. And he goes, and in your main event, Hulk Hogan will defend against Jesse the Body Ventura. And here he is. He goes, you know, Mean Gene, the Big Apple, it's my second home, and I'm coming to do the business.
Same thing.
The same promo, man. I was sitting there watching going, I mean, I already knew it was fake, but I thought that matchup was special to L.A. Oh, my God, a title could change hands. Dad, I want to go. We want to go.
Venice.
He's from Venice, for crying out loud. And then he's doing the same exact thing over there in New York. And so I go, hold on a second. So I look on WGN, and I got to go through the guide and find it. Same thing. He's coming back to Chicago, you know, and that's basically what they did. They marketed all these individual areas. But you didn't know any better until cable came along, and then you were able to dissect that. So, yeah, as he was saying that the Severn or whoever else kind of did the same fight, you wouldn't know any better, because if you went to King of the Cage in California,
well, now with the internet, it's
now on the
easier.
internet, yeah, I guess, but you don't really look up Severn and go, what's he up to next? I mean, you just happen to be at that fight, but you don't know that he's back in Coldwater, Michigan, or he's back in, you know, Athens, Georgia, kind of doing the same fight, because you don't follow those fight leagues. So very creative, very creative. All right, folks, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Quick break. When we come back, we'll keep taking your calls. 866-522-2846. Get in the queue.
say things in this cool voice, and they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, folks, we're back. We haven't talked too much MMA today. We're talking about
It's been kind of slow, though.
our funnest experiences as a fan in sports. And earlier I was talking about when I visited La Bombonera, which is the name of the stadium where Boca Juniors plays their home games. I sent it to Goes. Did you get it?
I found it, yeah.
Okay. So let's do that. And then Danny says he's got a good stun gun story. And I just came across a decent stun gun story. And even though it's not Stun Gun Monday, I feel like stun gunning someone. So we'll do that. You can call in at any point in the show, 866-522-2846, and share your one of your favorite stories of a sporting event you may have gone to. So this right here is Boca Juniors versus River Plate. Freeze it for a second, Goes. And if you're watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, this is your freeze it for a second. Is your chance to just come over so you can see what I'm talking about. But these two are rivals, so it's like USC, UCLA, Michigan, Ohio State, England versus France.
Sad that you have to do that, because now you can't do it with the NFL or NBA or baseball. Those players just move around.
True. Lakers, Celtics, remember that back in the day? And anyway, this is Boca Juniors versus River Plate. In soccer, the home team's always listed first. So this is them just go back to the beginning. This is them walking out of their tunnel from the bottom there. And see how big this plexiglass is? But look at that. So that's all the smoke and confetti. And look at those. Those, I guess, are sparklers. And it's just a mess. I mean, look at that. Because look how everyone's jumping. You get the feeling like exactly what incredible passion. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to have enough to show when the other team comes out. But see how they've already thrown toilet paper? Mm-hmm. And see the confetti that's just gone? Nobody's going to pick it up. They're going to play through it. They may get some of the toilet paper, but you'll see it throughout the event. They just want the event to unfold the way it is. So there's the sparklers. And this side is like sweets. Yeah, that side is all sweets. And then this. Can you freeze it back to. Go back for a second here. Yeah, right there. These are all kind of like sweets, executives. And I think there may be some fans down here. This right here is the up until there, I believe, maybe just these two sections or maybe just one of them is the visiting crowd. So see how over here you see blue and yellow?
Uh-huh. And
over here is a little bit darker. That's probably the River Plate colors. And they come into the stadium first and leave last. I believe that. It's just crowd control. But I remember up here goes these lights. There was just a guy hanging like from the side, waving a big old flag. And that wouldn't be allowed in the United States. It's just impossible. But there's just, the things you can get away with. Here's all the confetti and toilet paper aligned on that side. And keep going. And again, the game hasn't even fucking started, dude. When a goal scored, oh my God. It's pretty crazy. I think those are the two managers saying hello to each other. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see the other team. The other team may have already come out. Yeah, he's just greeting the other manager. But there you go. They're just chanting, and it's pretty nuts. Look at this guy. He's hanging onto a sign. So's that guy. They're putting it up. But that's how big the fence is. You literally have to climb really high, and it's to protect the players from the fans. Anyway, since it isn't Stun Gun Mondays, and he says he's got an epic one. We've been calling him Peg Leg because he had a problem with his leg this past weekend.
So, just situation in the hospital that I was at this particular weekend was not the greatest. So I wanted to preface my story with all of that because I understand there are great nurses, there are great doctors, and stuff like that, and great hospitals. So I was telling you about my trip to the doctor's office, the very first one, where I was saying, like, I made it very clear to the doctor that this has happened to me before, and they made a mistake and didn't give me strong enough antibiotics, so it came back stronger, and I ended up in the ICU. I told the doctor that, and I told you guys, like, that was the story, and Goes even knew. He commented when I said I was going to the ER. He said I called it, and I did. So after the show on Friday, I went back to the doctor's office. I was seen by a different doctor, but I had the same nurse. So the nurse was able to tell the doctor, yeah, it's much worse. He's not just saying this, it's definitely worse. I saw it Wednesday, and now I'm seeing it 2 days later, and on antibiotics, it's much worse. So luckily she was there, and she was able to tell the doctor that it's definitely getting worse, and she could back up my story and everything. So the second doctor I saw was great. The nurse was great. Unfortunately, he said, you need to go to the emergency room, like, right now. And I was like, right now, or can I go in the morning? And this is, like, I don't know, like 6:30 in the evening. Because in my head, I'm thinking, all right, it's not that serious because he's not calling an ambulance or anything like that. But it's serious. I didn't want to, like, be getting out of the emergency room, like, 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, like, super late, because I didn't know how I was going to get there. I was probably going to have to rely on a roommate dropping me off and picking me up and stuff like that. So he goes, well, it's getting really bad. You should definitely go now. So I said, okay. So I got somebody to bring me there. I checked in really quick, which was, I mean, great for emergency room. Unfortunately, it was like not a false check-in, but it was just like the very first stage. And that began my night of waiting. Like, I could have just stayed home, because by the time I actually got, like, put in a gurney type of thing, like, actually, like, they took blood, they gave me an IV, all that stuff, that was close to 3 o'clock in the morning. And I went in before 7. Before I went in before 8. It was like 7:15 when I actually officially checked in.
That's a long time.
It was insane. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm waiting with a ton of people that are really sick, too.
Dude, that is a long time.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm talking about you getting to the stun gun part.
Oh, sorry. So when I finally get checked in, I'm in a gurney, because they're like, oh, well, we can't bring you back to the actual rooms unless you come on a gurney. I say, okay. So I'm on a gurney, and they stick me in a hallway. And I went, okay, are you just, like, cleaning a room or something? You go, no, we don't have any rooms. You're going to stay in this hallway in this bed. So I'm in a hospital gown, in a gurney, with an IV stuck in my arm, in a hallway.
What? You didn't even get a room?
No.
Jesus.
And that's where I stayed. So that's where I stayed all night, the first night. So
you had to sleep in the hallway?
How am I going to sleep? It's a hospital.
You didn't raise hell?
So then somebody wakes me up the next morning and says, oh, we're moving you. And I went, oh, okay, good. They're going to put me in a room. Finally, a room cleared up. No, they moved me to another hallway. I'm literally in a hall, and this is busier, because this is like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning. So I'm still in a hospital gurney, in a gown, with an IV in my arm, like in a
that ain't right, man.
Hallway. So then they stuck me on this other hallway, and it seemed busier, and there was this lady who I guess was going through Alzheimer's, and she kept getting out of her bed and just, like, yelling at everybody because she thought she was in her apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And the nurses weren't paying attention to her, or at least not enough. She would just walk around. At one point, I'm laying in the hallway in my gurney, and she's right over top of my face saying, you can't come back here. Like, this is... I wish I was making this kind of stuff up. It was just... I would like to just tase the entire hospital.
Could you bitch? Did you bitch at them?
No, I was so out of it. I was just, like, in a lot of pain and just, like, so out of it.
Tell your insurance, man. Because there's big costs for staying in a room, and you didn't get adequate service or coverage or attention.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell mine when we come back. We got to squeeze in this last break here, I believe. Right, Danny?
Yes, we do.
Yes, one more break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Do this break, and then we'll come back with stun gun stories of ourselves.
During the commercial break, they were probably talking smack about their next guest, but now they're going to act like they're all cool with him. Here they are, George and Goes.
Shout out on Facebook Live to Simpson Michael. Who's on the show today? The answer is Gilbert Melendez, joining us in about 10 minutes. Addie Alamed says, hey guys. What's up, Addie? Margaret Hoyt says, word. I'm not sure what we said, but word back to you. And Corey Smith says, how are you guys doing? We live. We're doing all right, my man. So my little quick stun gun just came up here. I had gotten an email from Marissa Rivas, the general manager. That's her title, right, Danny? She's the official general manager of the station?
I know that's what it actually is, but I don't know if that's the actual title.
Yeah, I think that's what she is.
Might be like, is it program director?
Program director, yeah, something fancy like that.
Something like that.
And so she oversees a lot of the programming, most of it, I believe, if not all of it, on Sirius XM, Rush 93. She sent an email to myself and Goes and a few of the other hosts of other shows. And in my process of replying, I somehow replied to RJ Clifford. And you're right, Goes. Apple's new system of threads that have begun that involve other people, it just makes no sense because even when you hit it, you can tell they highlight what you're talking about, but then they have one from like 2 months ago above, and then one below that doesn't make sense. Exactly. I don't like it one bit. Luckily, all I said to her was like, yeah, I just had a follow-up question, and I wrote, she had called the other day, and I said, hey, I hit you back. Everything good, you know? But what if I had said something like, hey, I hope all's well, and send me more info. And boy, that RJ guy stinks, doesn't he? You know, I mean, I would have got hammered. But RJ's super cool. I would never say that. It's just, it really is tricky, man. Apple needs to shape that up. They did that, what, about 3 months ago, 2 months ago?
About 3 or 4 months ago.
Where do you put in the complaints? It is a nightmare. I don't like it one bit. All right, folks. So, yeah, Stun Gun Apple, guys.
You got it, dude.
Thank you. When we come back, if Goes has one, he can share it. But we'll also be talking to Gilbert Melendez, UFC lightweight. He may have some news regarding that, by the way. But he'll be commentating for Combate 10 tonight on the UFC Fight Pass, 8 Eastern. Join us. We'll be live tweeting, and we'll also be a companion to all in the last 3 fights. We'll talk about that when we come back.
You'll never be the same again.
Oh, this is the instrumental version. Okay. Well, you're listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show. It's the second hour. I knew there was a singer that comes on and starts saying a thing or two. And who is it? Alanis?
We're doing no. It's television themes. So this was the theme for the show House.
Gotcha.
And what a lot of people don't know is if you didn't watch the show when it was on TV and you're watching it through Netflix, the theme song is different because Netflix didn't want to pay. I think it's Massive Attack that does the song. Mm-hmm. So they actually have a different theme.
Massive Attack, do they have a lead singer that kind of sounds like Alanis Morissette? Her voice? I don't know why I always thought she sung it. All right. Today's the theme of TV shows from a certain era or just TV shows?
Yeah, just TV shows in general.
Goes tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Combate 10 will be starting their show.
Desde Mexico.
Yeah, La Jaula. Remember when we called the fights here in Las Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time. Now they're up to the 10th show, and they're not going away, man. Campbell McLaren, he's got a game plan, and now he's got Alberto Del Rio as El Presidente. They got on the UFC Fight Pass about 5 events ago. So literally an idea that I wasn't too sure about. Now he's got television contracts everywhere, and things are really, really doing well.
Perfect market.
He sure is.
That's a perfect market that's starving for that. They love combat sports. Same thing with like the Philippines, right?
Mm-hmm.
They love combat sports. It's the same thing in South America, Central America. Mexico is just, I mean, those are, if you go in a little kid's bedroom, those are the people that are on the wall.
Right.
Either football, soccer players, or combat sports heroes.
If you want to follow along here, not just here during the shows, we talk about Combate Americas. But if you want to learn more about the organization, if you want to join us tonight, remember we'll be live tweeting through the event, and then we will turn on the Facebook Live, and we'll watch the last 3 events with you all. You'll have to watch it on your own, but it'll be kind of like what Joe Rogan does with his Fight Companion. Is there another name to Fight Companion? We obviously can't steal his name.
Fight Friend.
Fight Friend? No. I don't know if it's that's too basic, but something else. Because a few other guys have tried it, and
that's not bad for having 1 second to prepare.
Fight Friend, yeah, no, I hear you. I didn't smash you. I just said, well, let's think of another one. But joining us now is the gentleman that will be calling the English version of the event, Gilbert Melendez, UFC lightweight, former Strikeforce champion, former Shudo champion, former WEC champion. He's got a lot of accolades. What's up, Gilbert? How you doing?
Good. How's it going over there, boys?
Doing great, man. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. You're on with George and Goes. So you ready to call the fights in La Jaula tonight?
I am ready, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be my first time calling a whole show. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I got to do the interviews for the first time. It was interesting sitting on the different end over there, and it got me real excited. So I am pretty pumped about it. And I like what they're doing out here, and so, you know, it's pretty jazzed.
Did that kind of, you know, as you were interviewing them, did it remind you, I guess, of your early days? You know, others would interview you, maybe Morrow and Boss, or whoever was calling the fights in Pride, or just wherever you did stuff, you know? Like, did you kind of see the same faces looking at you the same way you would look at them?
Yeah, you know, more so I could see the hunger in them all, you know what I mean? And just kind of remembering, you know, the path and the journey a fighter goes through to make it to be number one. There's different stages and levels, and Combates is a pretty solid stage here for the Latin American community in Mexico City here. So there's a lot of young guys sacrificing a lot. And, and I put a tweet out about how it was pretty inspiring to see some of these guys and what they're willing to do to train, and what they go through and what they sacrifice and how young they've started now, 13 years old and just focused on MMA. It was pretty neat. And, it did remind me of the good old days. Well,
so using your expertise as a former fighter, as a guy that's coached teammates, your wife, your friends, as a commentator for ESPN and Fox, could you read into their eyes or their body language? Could you tell who's really a fighter, who's really in this? Are some of them trying to be famous? Are some of them really, really tough fighters? Are some of them athletes? Do you have that sharp of an eye?
I believe so, and I didn't see any posers here. I saw people that were, I don't know if they're completely to the level, if they got the exact training that will take them to the top. But I know in their hearts and what they put in and their mentalities, there's a lot of, there's some serious fighters here, And I'm not just saying that, but that's the message I got from some of them, Mainly because, how hard it is, One guy's traveling 2.5 hours a day to come train at the gym, taking a bus and a subway, and others are disconnected with their family, Mark De La Rosa, started at 13 years old and actually went to school half-time to pursue this, and in the way they talk, some are educated. Gustavo Lopez is very educated, and Swanson out there hearing him speak. These guys are serious, They are serious fighters. So, it was interesting to hear them all and hear their stories and knowing what they're putting in, you can kind of see that they put their work in. Whether they're going to perform or not, I know they're satisfied with the work they put in to get to this point.
Definitely. So let's talk about that main event that involves Steve Swanson and Gustavo Lopez. Swanson, 14-2 overall. He's a finisher, man. He's a tough cat. He's trying to put on a show, and he knows the Mexican fans want a show. And on the other side, you got Gustavo Lopez, who's won 5 of his last 6, training out of Extreme Couture here in Las Vegas. Tell us what you see going down in this fight between these two combatants.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting fight. Swanson, 10 of those wins are knockouts. He's a heavy hitter and he's athletic, just like his brother. So imagine the guy, dropping big bombs, overhand right, left hooks, controlling the distance really well, and trying to keep him on his feet. Gustavo Lopez is a rounded mixed martial artist as well. He uses explosive strikes to look to get within takedown range. But he's patient. He doesn't really force the takedown. But I think ultimately, going to be successful, or for him to have the advantage, it'd be to take Swanson down and try to control him and use his jiu-jitsu and positions to either get a submission or some good strikes. But so it's going to be that game. It's going to be the striker versus the wrestler. But it's not that simple. There's some really good striking from this wrestler, and there's some really good wrestling defense from this striker. So it's one of those going to be one of those explosive fights, and they're both firecrackers out there. So I'm looking forward to it. And Gustavo, very educated guy. Went to Menlo, wrestled at Menlo College, and could have chose the path of a higher paying job, but he chose the path of a warrior, which I like. And Swanson's someone who's that's kind of on the edge of looking for that reason to keep pursuing fighting, and was thinking about hanging it up for a minute, and he got this opportunity again to get back in there, and so there's a lot. These guys are going big for this one, so I think it's going to be a really good main event.
Gilbert Melendez, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. We're talking about Combate Americas offering tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. It's Combate 10. Use the hashtag Combate10. Tonight, Gustavo Lopez and Steve Swanson in their main event. Let me turn it over to Goz. He's got a couple questions for you. Goz, what you got for El Nino? Gilbert Melendez.
Gilbert, with Jake Shields, Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, you guys grew up together in the sport, and I've often heard you guys refer to each other as brothers. In the main event tonight, you have Steve Swanson, who's the brother of Cub Swanson, who just came off of a potential Fight of the Year candidate, right? For as much as brothers love each other, is there that underlining competition amongst brothers where one guy just kind of wants to top the other?
No, I don't feel that. I don't feel that. I feel it's more lifting each other up. It is a competition in the gym. I think, we're butting heads all the day, all the time. When Nate would whip me up in sparring, I'd be driving all the way to Lodi looking for him, and vice versa when we had our moments. And but when it comes to competing, man, there's no one that has your back more, wants to succeed you more than those brothers that you bleed with out there. And I could sense it's the same way. I feel Steve Swanson, appreciates Cub. Cub bought him into fighting, as a different avenue, choice in life. And you could tell him meant a lot to him. And then also when I was, asking about how many of those wins are by knockouts, I was asking during the interviews, and he's like, I don't know, maybe half of them. And, a couple minutes later, Cub corrected us and let us know it was 10 knockouts, So they have each other's back. You can tell they have each other's back out there. And, so, I mean, there might be some competitors in the, in the gym and all that, but, you can just see they have each other's back right now. And, that's hard to find.
That Latino bravado, is that a culture that you embrace through watching legends like Julio Cesar Chavez, Roberto Duran, or is that something you pick up from maybe your father, the gym, or is it something you're just born with?
Yeah, I do think it's in, that Latino blood, but I also think it's, it's all part of the culture. One of the main sports growing up I watched was boxing. We woke up, we got around Saturday and we'd watch the Chavez fights, man. We go to Rosarito, drive across the border because it was free, and we watch it on primetime TV over there. And
not a bad idea.
We go there and have a party. Not a bad idea, right? But we used to, do stuff like that. So I grew up on it. I grew up to the point where I saw De La Hoya's first and last boxing fight. I've seen every single one of them because, he would be, his first fight was on the undercard of Julio Cesar Chavez, and so, we've been in it since then, seen Chiquita and Carbajal, and, it's a big part of the culture, and I think, more than winning is the warrior spirit, the pride, the willing to take two punches to give one, and Combate Americas is, the goal is to bring that spirit, not just to have Latin fighters, but to bring that type of fight spirit to the jaula, to the cage out there, so I'm behind that, I'm behind that, I'm for that, I like that kind of fighting, and that's what they're promoting out here, and I can totally get behind that. So, happy to be a part of it, and I'm trying to learn to see where this blood comes from a little bit more.
You know what? You just scored extra points with me because you brought up Chiquita Gonzalez and Michael Carbajal. That's a kind of some fights that a lot of people don't talk about, but
right.
They were incredible.
Yeah,
great fights.
They were incredible.
Hey, Gil. So you fought in Mexico before. Is what we're talking about that? Is that a thing where kind of keeping up with that tradition, is there a little pressure that comes with it because you're fighting in Mexico and you want to impress these people?
Oh, absolutely. And you can see it. There's Mexicans like myself, Mexican American, and there's also Mexican Americans that have migrated. They came to America at a young age, and then there's the Mexicans that still live in Mexico here. And there's other, Latin descent as well, and they're claiming more Mexican pride than others. And, they're also claiming, hey, I live here, I live in the elevation, it's going to play part. And, so there is a lot of Mexico pride out here. And people trying to prove that they have that pride, and it's exciting to see, it's exciting to see there's some rivalry matchups here. There's some local talent, there's two opponents who are fighting each other who, one opponent is beat a brother, so they're looking to go at it, as well. And, and there's, again, there's Mexican fighters from Mexico fighting the Mexican American and saying you're not a real Mexican because you're not even from here, so it's, the pride is up and people are trying to prove that, they're going to be the ones, waving the flag out here and representing the country.
I love it. I'm getting fired up. Hey, let's talk about that co-main event. You talked about Mexican fighters. But this one more specifically being from El Distrito Federal, Mexico City, Lisbeth Lopez Silva in the co-main versus Nigdali Rivera Kalanok. These are atom weights, and as you've seen, women's MMA is really, really blowing up. Talk about this fight and these two young ladies that are getting down in La Jaula tonight.
Right, you got Nigdali, who's kind of a veteran in the sport. Has a 10-9 record, and she's been in the cage with Jessica Penne, Felice Herring. That says a lot, and I believe she has the experience advantage in this fight. Again, I think she's a rounded fighter, a really good MMA fighter. She's not a striker with some wrestling and jiu-jitsu or a wrestler. She just seems like she's everything. She can stay on the feet, she can put you against the cage, and she can shoot an armbar. So she's talented, and she trains with, Misha Tate. Misha Tate's in the corner, and she says she seems confident. She walked into interviews, and she was the most confident fighter out there, and partially it was because of her experience and of her corner, But she's going against Lisbeth, who's a local fighter in Mexico who's 3-3, but lost her first 3 fights, started at the age of 15 years old, and has won her last 3, But her presence in the interview room as well, I don't know the exact training, if it's the level of training she's got out there, but she's confident that she's trained her best and her hardest to prepare for this fight. And I could tell that she feels prepared, whether she has the exact skill for it or not. But from what I hear out here, I haven't seen physically myself, but she's a tenacious striker. And, and in that weight class, atom weight, I think, they can hang. Anyone can hang with each other on there in that striking division. And she also says she's from Mexico and she lives in altitude, and she believes she puts that pressure on Nicolí that she could break her in the later rounds and be successful. So it's an interesting matchup. And this is one that I think we can tell within the first minute if it's gonna be the experience is going to show, or Elizabeth is going to be that game opponent is going to be willing to take it there as well. So it's great to see the ladies getting more respect in the sport, and again, they put some of the best fights out. We're willing to take and give more damage than some of the men sometimes. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight as well.
Definitely. I think just being from Mexico City is an advantage. Hopefully Nicolí has been able to adjust. There's Mount Charleston here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, or maybe she got out there a little earlier. I don't know, but if you don't acclimate, you can be in for a world of hurt. Now let's talk about another fight that I'm looking forward to. I love seeing 7-0 versus 8-0-1. I'm talking about De La Rosa versus Hernandez. You got a Texan, Lubbock, Texas. We have a buddy from Lubbock, Texas.
We have a friend, correspondent.
Yeah, they're tough over there. And versus Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. So I think we're going to get a version of what you were saying, Gil, an actual Mexican versus a Mexican-American, and they're going to give each other a hard time. But someone's O must go. You got to 13-0. What was it like being undefeated and everybody telling you how great you might be and you may be the next best thing? Was that a confidence booster, or did you actually start to experience some stress from every win and having that knowing that at some point it may go?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. I wish I could actually remember exactly what I felt that time. But, I had mixed emotions. Yeah, you're running with the O. You're feeling good, undefeated. And, I had a couple matchups. I think when I was 4-0, I fought a 5-0 guy. When I was 5-0, I fought a 6-0 guy. So I've been in those positions where one of the O's had to go. And there's nothing more entertaining than having two guys who are on the roll, fighting each other that are confident. And I think they both use this as confidence in this fight right here. And for myself, I think it was more in the confidence area, and it makes you feel great right here. But this is another great matchup. De La Rosa he's been training since 13 years old, and Ivan, he said he trained a little bit, started a little bit later out there. But I saw him fight. I got to take a look at him. His fights are out there, and he's a tank. He comes forward and he blitzes forward. He'll pick you up. He'll slam you. He's an explosive fighter. But is he going to be able to hang with the experience and the skills of Mark De La Rosa? That's going to be the question.
I can't wait to see it, folks. Combate Americas presents Combate 10 tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on the UFC Fight Pass. Gil Melendez will be on the call for the English version of the call. And at the same time, Gil, and Goz and I will be live tweeting, and we'll also be watching the fights with you. Now, Gil, one last thing. We'd be remiss not to ask you a question or two while you're there. I've been hearing you're dropping to 145. Can you confirm?
I want to confirm. I do. Right now I'm still I'm in a moment right now where I'm leaning up really good, and I like the way things are going. And I guess until I book a fight at 145, I can't really confirm that. But yeah, that's my goal right now. I'm really trying to slim up. I'm really trying to diet. I'm trying to lose this fat around the belly a little bit more, and really maximize my body's potential. And once I get to that point, which it should be in the next few weeks, I'll be able to really jump and really make that clear decision. But yes, that's my goal, is to make 145s, and that's what I'm working on right now at this point.
Well, I think you have 4 fights at 143. I think that's what Shudo, that's what their featherweight division. So you do have some experience there. And at this point, you're in a holding pattern. So you have not let the matchmaker know they can throw a matchup your way, or are they actively looking for something? Do they need a final green light from you to say you're good to go, or where do you stand?
Exactly. No, that's exactly where it's kind of at. I haven't really reached out to them and tell them exactly, hey, this is what I want, this is what we're going with, and see if and let them know, and hopefully work together and make something happen. But no, I haven't got to that point yet. I'm trying to get ready mentally, physically. I'm trying to get ready to that point. I feel like I'm just about there, and I'll be reaching out soon and be able to pull the trigger on this. But so far so good. And it's starting to make me a little edgy for the diet, and I think that's what I need in my life a little bit. I need something to make me a little more angry in there. So yeah, and this is what we're working for. And when I do book that fight, though, I'd love to do it and confirm it on MMAjunkie.
Orale.
We would like that as well.
I'm down with that. So check it out. The last thing I want to tell you is, if you confirm that, if you go to 45, you become an instant contender. So I'm sure they'll give you a great matchup, and if you get past that great matchup, that's it, man. You're in that title hunt. That's the respect that comes to a veteran that's held the belts that you have. Again, the WEC lightweight title, the Strikeforce lightweight title, the Shudo featherweight title. I'm sure there might be one or two local regional ones that I might be missing. And let's not forget, you went to a split decision when the UFC lightweight title was at stake. So you have a big name. You've accomplished a lot. So I imagine that if you drop, you're in the midst of a title run right then and there.
Absolutely, and that's the plan. That's the plan. I'd like to, see when these champs are fighting. If so, if when, and keep an eye out. Prove I'm one of the toughest in the division with the solid opponent. Hopefully someone that's willing to fight me and not stick and move. And if I can get that, that'd be great. And man, I'm looking to make a statement. I'm looking for that last run. That's the goal. I think we're on the same page with that.
McGregor's gone. Who do you think will be champion by the time you're making your title run? Aldo, Holloway, or you think there's someone else out there that you'll be gunning for by the time you're doing something?
Yeah, interesting. Those two seem to be the one right now. You know what I mean? Those seem to be the two I'm in right now, and we'll see if they're fighting or see what's next. But there's a lot of talent in that division. I mean, Frankie Edgar's in that division. I mean, Swanson's looking great out there. I mean, Lamas. There's a lot of tough fighters. And of course, and the two champions right now are Aldo and Holloway. So there's plenty of tough guys out there. It's exciting matchups. But I'm looking for a fight, not some point sparring.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you what. My early prediction goes, and Gil will fight for a world title at 145 pounds. But he's going to have to be the road warrior because Gil will be returning to his Rumble on the Rock roots when he fought in Honolulu, Hawaii. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be him versus Max Holloway. I think Max is going to make a strong push for the UFC in Hawaii. The UFC is going to debut in Hawaii with Max as the headliner. I think by then Gil will carve out his road. Maybe a win, maybe two, just more than likely one. So there you go, Gil. Back to Hawaii to throw chingazos.
I like it. I'm getting chills right here and I'm starting to growl. I like it. Let's do it.
All right, brother. We'll let you go so you can continue your preparation for tonight's Combate 10. We'll be tuning in. Go out there and break a leg.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate the support.
All right. Take care. We'll see you.
Bye.
All right, folks. That's Gilbert Melendez, one of the best to ever do it in our sport. We're going to take this break here to get that out of the way. That way we're not doing a rush job at the end. And we'll take your calls, 866-522-2846. I'm also going to turn to social media and see what you all are harping about, talking about. If you have questions, fire them away.
I still got my stun gun story. It's a small one, but it's there.
All right, goes. You can share that with us. I'd love to hear it. So it's at MMA Junkie George, at MMA Junkie Radio, and at the goes on Twitter and Instagram. And if you go to our Facebook page, it's facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. You can submit a question. We'll get to that. And goes, I think we should also maybe go over a few of the categories for the World MMA Awards. The nominations just came out, and we will be seeking your support. If you feel we're the best website, please vote for us for Best Media Source. MMA Junkie looking for their 6th trophy. 6 of these bad boys. We already got 5. We'd love to get a 6th. We'll be right back.
they get enough that say no, then they can't move. But I don't see that being a problem. I mean, every team in the league is probably like, woohoo, we get to go to Vegas once a year, possibly.
Yeah, no shit. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Walt Harris, who got a win this past weekend, at UFC Fight Night 103. We'll also have Frank Trigg co-hosting the episode. Former UFC welterweight, and he wasn't a middleweight in the UFC, but he was a middleweight world champion at Icon. It's a organization in Hawaii. He defeated Jason Mayhem Miller for a world title, but then he lost the world title to Robbie Lawler. Great fights, both of them. I was there for both of them, too. The highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It really, really sucks to see someone you're cornering get knocked out. Oof. I remember my knees were shaking and shit. I was like, oh, God, I hope he's okay. Samuel Medina, shout out to him from Chiclayo. He was talking about he went to a junkie gathering by himself. He said he left with not friends, but family. Could anybody have put that any better than that?
Yeah, he actually kind of saved the day at one of the events. Mm-hmm. We had a suite party here at Mandalay Bay. We got a big, cool suite, and we threw a party there, and everybody was just starving. And Sam showed up with just McDonald's cheeseburgers. Man, they hit the spot.
Was it after Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah.
And then we came here, and then we went to the room.
So some people went to Invicta, right?
Okay.
Wait, was it? Or was it after the concert?
I don't recall. I want to say it was the first of what we said.
Okay. So yeah, then I think you're right. Some of us went to Beatles Love Show. Some of people went to Invicta. The Beatles Love Show ended first, so we all went to the suite. So there was a good amount of people that were there for about an hour and a half before everyone else showed up. And Sam just waltzes in with all these cheeseburgers for everyone, and they hit the spot.
Joe Mosqueda, a.k.a. the Mosquito,
mm-hmm.
He says house party at the suite at Mandalay Bay was sweet. And so let me tell you how that one worked out. We had plans for GSP at first was going to do a Q&A, right?
So the guys at what is it, CEA?
CAA, yeah.
CAA?
Yeah.
One of those. That big agency that represents actors, and at the time it was GSP.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to do kind of like a
meet and greet.
No, it was more like a survey almost of sorts.
Okay.
And what they wanted to know is, I guess they were building a website for the MMA fighters, and they just wanted to know, what is it that you like about MMA sites? Like, what would you click on? Pictures, bios, what do you want? And so they were going to do that here at the studio. But it was too many people to fit in the studio, and it would have been too loud out here in the sports book. So we said, all right, well, what if we get a suite upstairs, and you can conduct the survey? They said it would only take like 20 minutes at the most. And then when you're done, you guys bounce, and we're left with a suite. Well, at the end, they weren't able to pull it together.
But
the
GSP
left.
part, you're leaving that out.
Well, yeah, and GSP was going to be part of it, where afterwards he gets to give you guys a little Q&A.
Right.
And so they weren't able to pull it all together at the last second. Because this happened like almost the week of, or like at least maybe like the Friday before.
Then wasn't maybe Faraz going to step in? Faraz Sahabi?
Faraz was going to step in at the last second, and they just weren't able to do it. And so we were just left with a suite.
Right.
And
Goes and I had this gutted feeling of, damn, we almost pulled it off. Because everyone's faces lit up when we pulled off the Dana White Q&A.
Yeah, every year
that's
there's
kind of
something
what
that
we
they
wanted.
don't know about.
Right.
You know, we tell you a lot of stuff that's going to happen, but there's a lot of things you don't know. And one, the year before was Dana White and Vanderlei. They didn't know Vanderlei was going to be there. You pulled that off at the last second.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was going to be the surprise, was GSP was going to be up in the room waiting, just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen.
So Goes and I, when we all came back from, some people came back from Invicta, others came back from the Cirque show, the Beatles Love show. We came back and we basically just said, okay, well, rather than hang out here, we're just going to go to this suite that we have. But I got to admit, as we went up, we weren't sure how this was going to turn out, because it was going to go in such another direction that I had this almost deflated feeling like, well, let's just go up, whatever. So we head on up, and there was literally like no music, no drinks, no, I think, did we bring up a few bottles to start things off? Or literally just walk up?
No.
Oh, you wanted to show off the marquee, right?
Yeah, so there was another announcement that George. Every year there's something that George doesn't know about, and
Like Dante's party.
Like Dante's party.
Right.
And this year was the video that we put up because it was our 2000 show. But also I talked to Mandalay Bay, and they said, hey, for your 2000 show, we're going to put you up on the marquee. And they told us, they go, come up with something. And that's where our buddy Gabe had to put together that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to unveil it for our parents to see and for George to see. And I thought it was hard because I didn't know how to get like a suite with the view of that without giving it away. And we didn't, but that's where we told them that was going to happen. But what actually came through was one of our listeners from Seattle, Chris. He worked for, I think he still does, for a big company, let's just say.
Yeah.
And he couldn't make the Junkie Gathering, so he said, because I can't make it, I'd still like to donate to the fund.
Right.
And he sent us a bunch of bottles of liquor.
Right.
And that's what we used to start the party to get it going.
Yeah.
Like you said, we didn't know it was going to turn out to be that much fun. It turned out to be, I thought it was the funnest thing we did.
Right. So
and
next thing you know, we got the radio going because it's not like we had a DJ ready to spin.
Dean was the bartender.
And we found a station that just all of a sudden was flowing with tunes. And so Dean from Georgia, who was a year late because I wanted him to come out the year before. That's kind of when we discovered him and he became a little bit more of part of Junkie Nation. So to me, he was like a year late, but he finally arrives and he starts kind of taking control, somebody goes and gets some buckets of ice and some of those drinks come up. Now we need some mixers. A few people start texting, where are you guys at? And what are we doing? And people started offering, can I bring something? So a few people went to the sundries here and, they'd come in with a bottle or two.
Big Al walked in with a giant, I think, of vodka and a rum. And anybody who knows what those prices are at your regular supermarket, they're a little inflated in Las Vegas. So Big Al spent a lot of money to bring 2
Cousin
bottles.
Karen also came from the airport.
Cousin Karen came with a
She picked
boatload
up Cousin
of
Jamie, and they brought a bunch of stuff. She wouldn't take any money because I go, I got you. And when I tried to give her, she goes, no. And so by then, now we had like a great amount of bottles. The music's flowing, drinks. People are smiling. Goes and unveiled the marquee. And next thing it turned out to be an awesome party.
Yeah, then Big Ben Rothwell shows
Rothwell.
up.
So we think that the party is actually going to end because these people do a nice job here at Mandalay Bay making us feel at home. We can't turn over the U.S. hockey team suite, destroyed or anything like that. So we're kind of watching, just making sure nobody's acting a fool. And all of a sudden we hear boom, 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 boom. And I go, oh, God, like, that's not even security, because security will give you
loud with music on. We still heard it.
Right. Security would give you a knock, and they'd say security, and then they would talk to you. This boom, boom, boom almost felt like if I opened the door, they were going to say, you're not going to believe this, but, and then fill in the blank. Someone just passed out. Someone got hurt. Someone got assaulted. Someone
fire,
did this.
Something.
Yeah, the place is on fire. So I remember walking up, and then you see Big Ben Rothwell, like, smiling.
He walked in, and he went, yeah.
Yeah,
super loud.
We opened the door, and he comes in, and he came in with his wife. And I'm telling you, man, he really livened things up as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really a great time hanging out there. And this is a Big Ben who came earlier in the week, went to the party, and then also came for the 2000 show.
Yeah, the next day.
He literally was an all-star. He was here 3 days.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, the next day we had Joanna Jędrzejczyk came out. We had Demetrius Johnson, who we hid in the back of the sports book with the Dead Mouse hat, and he came out and started dancing. Inside MMA was here. Big Ben Rothwell was here. Tyrone Spong, I think, showed up at the end, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
We're missing somebody.
Ron Kruk.
Ron Kruk as well.
With Andrew Simon.
I thought we had somebody else in studio, too.
I'd have to go back and look, yeah.
And then just throughout the week, when we did, our trivia night, stuff like that, I mean, I was looking at that squad the other day. That was
Rockhold, for crying out loud.
Ricky Lindell, Lorenz Larkin, Luke Rockhold, Phil Baroni, King Mo, Jay Huron, Ryan Couture. Who am I missing? I'm missing a few, but there were a
Joseph
lot of
Benavides.
fighters. Joseph Benavides was one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we pulled some crazy shit off.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what the Junkie Gathering is like. Come on out. Seriously, you'll have a good time. May 23rd through May 27th is the crux. That's the main part. If you get out on May 21st or the 22nd, nobody's hating on you because we're still going to be partying. We're still going to get together. Those have actually been some fun nights in the past when we have nothing planned and we sit right here, right in front of our studio, in the sports book, hanging out, talking fights, getting our parlays together, betting. There's usually baseball and basketball happening right around that time. So it really, really is a good time. Where you can stay is Mandalay Bay, the Delano. Those are the two towers here within the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. But the Luxor's attached to the Mandalay Bay, and the Excalibur's attached to the Luxor. So I always say stay at one of those. It's just convenient, man. I mean, honestly, if you're here and someone bumps into you and you go, oh, man, I got a stain on my shirt, you could be at the Luxor and back in 10 minutes. You don't have to get in a cab and go all the way to the Venetian or go downtown or go here. Or even worse, if you're actually driving and not cabbing it, all you have to do is stumble to your room, and then in the morning, guess what? You can wake up 10 minutes before the show, brush your teeth, and stumble right back over here. There's not waiting in a cab line. There's not calling for Uber.
Drinking and driving.
Yeah, there's none of that. There's literally just, and usually you're running into junkies going back and forth. So you got each other's back. I've seen people go, I'm out of here at 2 a.m. And then the next day I go, did you get some sleep? Thinking they slept maybe from 2 to 9. Got here at 10 for the show. Hell no, man. On my way back, I ran into these 5 maniacs, and we closed down the Luxor Center Bar at 5 a.m., So everyone, like I said, is in a good mood, and they're hanging out. I can't sell it enough. You're not going to have a bad time. If you do, I mean, I wish I had the money to say, I will give you an envelope.
You could throw pie in our face.
And repay you all the money. Yeah. If you want to throw pie in our face, you can do that. But I guarantee you'll say, man, that was a fun time.
Don't try and save money by staying off of the Strip or someplace else. You'll save a little bit, but you're gonna gain it all back in Ubers and taxis and just convenience, man.
People in the chat, Joseph Manzanares, that's Joe from Odessa. Raimundo Martin, that's Showtime from Tennessee. Darius Debkowski, that's Darius. We say he's from Poland, but he's really from New York. Poland just makes us sound more worldwide. All three of them have been to the Junkie Gary. Samuel Medina, that's Sam from Chicago. That's the guy that walked in with 50 cheeseburgers. Was it cheeseburgers or were they breakfast sandwiches?
And somebody else brought pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, because after all that drinking, you needed something to start soaking things up. He's been to the Junkie Gathering. Vincent Costa, I've been seeing you a lot, man.
Italy.
Be nice to have you fly in. I think he's a younger cat, though. You got to be at least 21 for a lot of these things. So I'm being honest there. But shout out to Matthew Smith. Shout out to Francisco Hans. Francisco Hans says, can GSP come back and be a champion again?
Yes.
Yes, because it's possible. But I think by the time he comes back, he'll be 36. And you just saw what happened to BJ Penn being away. He just didn't look himself. GSP's kind of a different animal. He rarely doesn't tune himself up to the point where he's as good as he can be. But that time away, these young killers, what helps GSP is the day he comes back, I think it'll be for a world title. He's got just as good of a chance as anyone, right? If he had to come back and fight 2 or 3 fights, then fight for a world title, then my answer would be no, because I don't think he'd be able to pull it off. All right, last break of the show. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. See you in a couple minutes.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
I want to thank Gilbert Melendez for his time today. Remember tonight, Combate Americas on the UFC Fight Pass, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Join us. We'll be live tweeting throughout the event, and then in the last 3 fights, we'll turn on the camera, our Facebook radio page, and you'll watch along with us. We won't point it to the TV, but we'll basically be watching what you're watching. That chick just walking around in a rope?
That's like Ric Flair out there, huh?
Yeah.
And Pete Rose right behind
it. So check it out with us. Combate Diaz tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, UFC Fight Pass. I was going to say it'll be similar to what Joe Rogan does with the Fight Companion, where we'll react to the fights. So hopefully we're watching at the same time simultaneously. We all have those same types of reactions. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Ron Kruk. We'll talk about LFA2 going down tomorrow night. Also, Frank Trigg will be our co-host. And lastly, we'll be joined by Walt Harris, UFC heavyweight. Want to give a special shout-out to Louis Lopez. He is 36 years old. He doesn't spell his name conventionally like an L-O-U-I-S.
Oh.
It's an L-U-I-S. So I think it's – I'm wondering if I've been calling him – I should be calling him Lewis because we have a cousin named Lewis.
Uh-huh.
And so get this. I couldn't wait to see him, right? Why? Because he was horrific in the College Bowl pool. So I wanted to, tease him a little bit. But because that damn Sammy the Squid was worse than him and our team lost, I just couldn't get my shots in. I literally sat next to him and watched fights and games. And just when I had a good one, because even though our team lost, and Big Ralph had bragging rights because he scored the most, and the other guys, his brother Ugo and Ward, they helped along the cause. I knew I could needle Louis because he was 29th place. And somehow he just spin it. He goes, well, I beat Squid, and he was right. It's like almost like 4-on-4 basketball. You guard him, and technically he guarded a guy that scored less than him. He twisted it all around. I couldn't get any digs in on a guy that finished in 29th place. But anyway, Louis, just joking. I hope you have a nice birthday.
Can I get
They were nice enough to share the winning meal with me.
Can I get my stun gun in?
I think it was out of respect because I came strong. What's up?
I have 2. They're real short. One on my flight from Long Beach to Vegas. One of the flight attendants. Isn't the rule when you're passing out drinks and snacks that if someone's asleep, you leave them alone, right?
Yeah.
This lady lifted up the guy's headphone like that, and it kind of scared him. He was like, whoa, like that. And she just goes, you want something? You kind of gave her a face like, no, fool, I was just asleep.
Right.
But you can't do that, right?
I don't think you should, no.
If anything, tap him on the shoulder maybe, but lift up the headphone? So I want to stun gun her.
Uh-huh.
And then... maybe I shouldn't do it. Yeah, I'll just stun gun her.
Nah, come on, give us the other one.
My little Jack Russell Terrier.
You gonna stun gun Max?
No, when I picked him up, he came back sick.
Oh, yeah. Somebody must have given him a treat.
And somebody, and I don't know who,
diet.
Somebody must have given him some. Now I'm starting to think, George, that maybe it was just bad food, just like spoiled food or something, like food poisoning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it doesn't match up with some of the stuff he's had in the past. But he done messed up. Because Max is a strong dog, and he back to normal already.
Yeah, I hear you there. All right, well, hopefully I didn't miss any shout-outs. I tried to get to as many Facebook Live listeners as we could. Really quick, Corey Anderson versus Jimmy Manuwa, Joseph Duffy versus Reza Madadi. Those are set for UFC Fight Night in London. I think that fight card's coming up in March, so plenty of time to talk about that. Also, Johnny Hendricks moves up to 185. He'll be facing Hector Lombard at UFC Fight Night 105 in Halifax. That's in February, so that one's coming up. And the other one, Gegard Mousasi heads to Buffalo to face Chris Weidman, UFC 210. So there's some matchups going on right there, and we'll dig more into those tomorrow.
I'm gonna